Awesome. Welcome everyone to another episode of chaipekharcha. We are super excited today to welcome Jay Shah, co-founder of One Tree Hill Prime Wealth. It's a new age wealth management firm which provides services around wealth management, financial planning, alternate investments, and more. They service high net worth, ultra high net worth, and corporate clients across India. Before starting up, Jay was the fund manager for the Edelweiss Alpha Fund, a Category 3 alternate investment fund, where Jay and his team scaled the fund from 300 crores to 2,000 crores within a span of 15 months. Jay has also received the 40 Under 40 award from the Association of International Wealth Management of India. He holds an MBA from the Indian School of Business in Finance and Strategy and has about 2 decades of professional experience in the world of finance and money management. Welcome, Jay. How are you feeling?
Thank you so much, Rohit. Good to be here. I think one of the other things which people forget to mention is I lost all my hair in those last 2 decades. Uh, so while the bank balance grows, I think there are other sides to the story as well. No, but
I
jokes
think we
apart,
can
happy
all
to be
attest to
here. Yeah. I think you guys are doing a good job in just getting information out there, and hopefully, I'll be able to add some value to that today.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to hear from you and learn from you. Let's maybe just start with talking a little bit about you and your career so that our audiences can understand why we are so excited to have you on the show today. Do
Sure.
you want to maybe briefly share a little bit about your career journey, your personal journey, and how you got to where
Absolutely.
you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, after engineering, there are, at least this is now in 2003, 2004, there was literally one choice, right? That was when the IT boom was there and TCS and Infosys and Intel. And got a couple of jobs 2 hours away from my place. And I said that, look, maybe let me look at something else. The Gujarati in my blood was always there. So the stock market was always there. And, everyone from my father to brother had some piece of part they were playing in the stock market. So I said, look, let me try and find something.
Hmm.
To join a startup called Edelweiss at that point in time. And it was literally 2, 3 years old. And joined what we call the prop desk,
Okay.
right? Where at that point, and I tell, everyone who is less than 35, literally companies were printing money at that point in time, right? Arbitrage funds, which are probably giving 6, 7%, used to return 12, 13% at that point,
Oh.
right? Very few participants, very few people knew about derivatives. And at least Edelweiss was at sort of the forefront at that point. So definitely lucky to be at the right place at the right time.
Hmm.
For the simple reason, because they're printing money, the ability to take risk increases substantially, right? And mistakes can be made and tided over. I still tell everyone those 2, 3 years that I was there at Edelweiss were definitely the steepest, one of the steepest learning curves, right? Because we got to do everything from investing to trading to corporate actions to special sits to commodities. Basically, if we had an idea, you got an allocation. That was the stage that they were at.
Hmm.
And then obviously moved on from there, joined Motilal Oswal, ISB, started my own sort of private LLP for family friends, joined an FI in between based out of Singapore, then said, okay, look, again happened because they bought out the Alpha Fund from Ambit and they were looking for a fund manager, did well, met the mandate, but used to be working for 25 hours a day. So I said,
Oh,
look, let me take a few steps back. I already lost my hair, don't want to lose my health.
wow.
And said that, look, in India at least, and for a lot of Indians looking for advice, the quality is much to be looked at, right? Either you have people trying to sell you flavor of the month or momentum or a shiny new coin. So that's how One Tree Hill came about and said that, look, why can't we help people give us sort of a high touch, bespoke sort of investment advice and be able to sort of handhold them as much as they require and take that journey forward. And it's been a good 5.5 years. We have a good bunch of clients who've stuck around. I would say if I had to put actual numbers, we probably lost out of the 200 clients that we have, we probably lost 3, 4 clients, right, across the journey. And I would say not Thankfully, not for returns, but for other reasons.
Mhm.
And very comfortable in our skin, doing what we do. We think we do things which are different, and it's enjoyable at the end of the day. As long as you enjoy it, paisa ban jayega.
Thanks so much for sharing a brief about your career journey, and I think it gives a little bit of insight into your maybe thinking process. Let me start then by just asking you, there's a lot going on in the world right now, right? Like the AI revolution, and there's interest rates and inflation. Elections just happened in India, going to happen in the US. There are actual wars, there are trade wars, there are layoffs, and yet the global indexes are at an all-time high. So what's on
Sure.
your mind these days?
So there's a very simple answer to that, right?
Hmm.
While markets keep changing, they do rhyme often, right?
Hmm.
So if you ask someone who's been there for 20 years, 30 years, they say there's nothing new. There's always have something happening in the market, right? There was the IT revolution, there was the internet, today it's AI. Right?
Right.
Elections have been happening often, as we know. That's something not new. Budget happens every year. That's not something new. There's always some crisis going on. That's not something new. Uh, so it's very simply put, I think portfolio construction has always been key
Hmm.
and will always remain key, right? So while yes, but we have to be aware of what is happening. It's very difficult, and in fact, it's more important to take that stance, saying that look, we have to be in front of everything.
Hmm.
So while maybe a lot of people have forgotten about Russia and Ukraine, it's still there in the news from time to time because the US might get involved with, you never know with these things. So I would say that prudence in the markets is always required, irrespective of the situation. As you said, markets are at an all time high. The simple logic to that, or the simple step to realize in that is whether markets are at a high or a low or sideways, they can fall at any point in time,
Hmm.
right? If you take COVID, and they fell 20% more.
Yeah.
It didn't become cheaper at that point. I don't know how many of us actually invested in March 2020. Unlikely.
Hmm.
Obviously, there would have been a minority which invested. Are enough people not investing at the all time highs? Yes, absolutely. Will people not invest when markets slowed down or didn't give any returns between 21 and 23? Absolutely. And that's the simple reason why markets work, because there are multiple participants, there are multiple scenarios everyone sees. And at the end of the day, you have to do what is comfortable to you.
Interesting. So, one of the principles I follow is to focus on what I can control, and then just try and not worry about what I can't control. So, with the context that you just shared, like, how do you think about risk management versus investment returns?
Absolutely. And so the idea always in my mind is to break down things,
Mhm.
right? The biggest things that people don't do and do, which according to me leads to disappointment, is chase higher returns,
Hmm.
right? Continuously in a very short time frame, right? If you
Mhm.
do the opposite, which is to say, look, can I get normal returns in an extended time frame? You'll be better off than 99% of the people.
Mhm.
So, should you go chasing higher returns because someone has sold you a good story, made a great presentation? In my mind, no. The biggest issue as for people who come to us is in the last 3, 4 years, there are so many funds, there's so many stocks, there's so many people who've done extremely well,
Right.
right? Now, if a monkey was to have picked stocks in 2020 in March, no matter what he would have done, he'd be sitting on significant gains,
Hmm. Cool.
right? But at the end, it's still a monkey. And coming back to the original point which I mentioned of risk is we are not Excel sheets. We are as goldfish as possible, right? So we've forgotten about all the sins of the past,
Hmm.
thinking that this market will never stop. I'm hoping it doesn't, but 20 years of being in the market tells me otherwise. I don't know when it will stop, right? It could be in a year, could be tomorrow, could be 3 years later, right? At the end of the day, it's very simply average returns in an above average time equals above average return
Mm.
or performance, right? And I think if you get those 2 points right, make your portfolio sustainable with a whole amount of discipline and patience, you're golden. And that's the simple answer.
Mm.
The idea is that making money in the markets is not easy, right? But compounding is the easiest thing to do. That unfortunately requires a journey, that requires a good degree of patience, which today's Instagram is impossible because everyone's trying to sell you a 25% story.
Yeah.
But am I comfortable doubling my money every 4 to 5 years? It's a tremendous amount of money over a period of time.
Mm.
And as long as you can do that, there's no reason to not enjoy life.
So tell me something, like somebody who is not a finance expert, somebody who does not have the wisdom of Jay whispering in their ear, how does that person build this sort of a thought process or this sort of a
Sure.
patient approach towards managing their own money? As you said, right, we are not Excel sheets and we are more like goldfish than anything else. How does that work for a normal guy?
It's very simple. Again, it's just so the most important thing is giving your tuition fees to Mr. Market,
Hmm.
right? It's very easy to read 5 books and say, hey, look, I think I understand money, right? But till you give your tuition fees, till you make your own mistakes,
Hmm.
till you don't realize that markets are not linear,
Mhm.
like they've probably been for the last 3 years, till you don't talk to people and gain from their experience, right? In fact, some of my older clients tell me that, Jay, look, I think I know that you don't have a magic wand, right? One of the reasons I'm hiring you is hopefully you won't make the same mistakes that you've made for yourself over the last 15, 20 years for me, right? And that itself will add some alpha to his or her portfolio
Mhm.
because he doesn't want to go through that learning curve.
Right.
But as you said, Rohit, that if you do decide to go on your own, right, you have to again stick to it. Make those notes saying that, look, someone told me to buy this stock. I didn't think and I bought it and now it's down 20%.
Right.
If you don't read that and change that behavior,
Mm.
you're bound to make the same mistake, right? Because the cycle of the market will force you to think or force a lot of people to think that they're invincible
Mhm.
till they are not.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest worries is there's so many, the majority of demat accounts which have been opened
Mm.
actually have never seen a fall. And it's impossible to predict what that behavior will be
Mm.
when a fall does come and an extended fall for maybe 2, 3 years, right? So I would say the single largest thing is as much as you can control your behavior, make those notes of the mistakes that you've made. Forget the gains. We have 20, 30 years remaining, let's call it for the time being, whether of working or investing in the market with some amount of risk. So it's important to make those notes. I have like 5 diaries across the last 15 years, which I've sort of as religiously as possible tried to keep. Saying that, look, I should not have done this. I should have done it this way. And it iterates, obviously, because the market itself is changing every day. Now, one of the things I ask myself, Jay, how did you miss out on Adani stocks? Right? And I don't have an answer as yet. Right? So everyone's path, everyone's thinking is different, but you have to do what's comfortable to you. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Jay, you mentioned earlier, right? Like, even though Instagram and TikTok might tell you that you need a Lamborghini, but you don't really need it actually. What does wealth and what does financial freedom, financial independence mean?
So it's very simple too. And I've seen my choices change over time. from when I was 20 when I started working to 42 right now. For me right now, and I'll probably compare it to when I was 30, is being able to do what I want when I want, right? And it's not sure, maybe, I want to buy a Lamborghini,
Hmm.
but it's not what I need. Once you're inside the car and driving a fancy car, that it falls off a cliff after a month,
Hmm.
unless you're a car enthusiast,
Right.
right? And then you come down two levels below saying that, look, roti kapda makan,
Hmm.
right? And then you tune it to the level that where you think, nahi, bas itna to chahiye me.
Hmm.
So while my wife might be okay with a Maruti Suzuki, I might want a Skoda,
Hmm.
right? Or and then you say, okay, look, Skoda is the lifestyle, right? And you figure out that, okay, look, to maintain a Skoda lifestyle, this is the amount that I need to earn. This is the amount that I need to have in my bank balance. And you'll be very surprised how less that amount is
Hmm.
compared to what we try and get to.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say I'm going to go down to the India route, and maybe you can add some flavor to Singapore as well.
Mhm.
Right. Uh, let's say you have 10 crores in the bank, right? Pure simple FD, right? That's 70 lakhs of interest every year. Forget taxes for the time,
Mm.
right? In Bombay, with 70 lakhs, you can lead an exceedingly good lifestyle. Factor in some amount of inflation, factor in some savings, medical is covered with insurance, right? Dependents are covered with term,
Hmm.
right? So you get to some number, right? Where you say that, look, my lifestyle will get taken care of. At some level, you will say, why am I working 25 hours a day? I'm just taking random numbers. Why am I chasing more, right? What are the number for you and Siddharth and me might be, right? So to me, wealth is not about money per se, but it's just about freedom that, look, tomorrow, can I wake up and say, hey, look, I don't need to do this 25 hours a day.
Hmm.
Let me take 5 steps back, but can I just head off to the hills and not worry what is happening to the markets or to people and spend time more balance? See, nobody talks about, everyone talks about balance of life, right? That, look, work life balance. I'm saying at 42, I want life balance. Work can take, it will happen
Hmm.
automatically.
Hmm.
But I want more life balance. I want to, of course, if you can't enjoy at 40, 50, definitely not at 70. And looking at our lifestyles, or most of our lifestyle, or even my lifestyle, Gujarati, eating sweets, young, everyone's talking about non-organic fruits and, or pesticides. Who knows what we're eating at the end of the day and when that might show up,
Hmm.
right? So it's a simple call of freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do. At least in my mind, that's well. Money is, yes, markets go up 2%, my wealth goes up 2%.
Hmm.
Fantastic. Uh, Incrementally, if let's say I'm worth 100 units today, if it becomes 105, nothing changes.
Hmm.
And that's what I think, at least I would like to aim for. That if nothing is changing, what am I chasing?
Right.
And why should I be chasing?
Mhm. I'll just do a very quick follow up on this. Interesting piece and share to the extent you're comfortable, of course. But a couple of years ago, you decided to give up the fast paced lifestyle of Mumbai and just move to a tier two city or town, which
Yeah, yeah,
has a slower pace of life, maybe more nestled in nature. You moved to Coimbatore. Do you want to
sure.
connect what you just shared about the life balance that you were talking about earlier? How does that sort of play into some of these decisions, and how does money and financial freedom allow you to make those choices which maybe you
Sure.
can't make if you don't have that sort of wealth backing you up.
So, what the biggest reason that enabled that decision
Hmm.
is the business I'm in,
Mm.
right? Where most of the work happens over Google Meet or Zoom or on the phone. So, no matter where I am physically, right, it's very easy to have a conversation with the connectivity which is there.
Mm.
On the other hand, the money part of things in, let's say, tier two city like Coimbatore is obviously 70% of tier one, let's call it,
Mm.
right? But coming to life balance more than anything else, right? So, all three of us, which is me, my wife, and my kid, like to travel.
Mm.
Right? We said that, look, let's take the car anywhere between 2 hours to 5 hours in the car, which you can just pick up and go on weekends for a couple of days. Uh, Everything's available from the beach to the hills to the mountains, um, everything, right? And we said that, look, this choice was very easy for us.
Mm.
So we said, look, let's do some adventure, not compromise on work per se, where are we still able to manage it and manage it well? And the answer was yes. So we said, look, let's do it. It's been 3 years now, and no regrets as of now, if you ask me. But will we move back to maybe a Bombay or a Bangalore or something in the near future? Absolutely possible, right? But again, comes back to freedom to do what you want.
Right.
Do I have the optionality
Mm.
at the cost of maybe growing my business or doubling my business every year instead of just growing it at 50%? I would value that optionality more,
Mm.
right? Am I ambitious to the degree that people want me to be? No, I'm not. Is 50% a small number to be growing a business? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right? Why am I chasing 100%? I
Yeah.
should not be.
Yeah.
Right? So it just comes down to optionality.
Mm.
And I'm just going to put in a quick point out here
Mhm.
with regards to the markets as well.
Mm.
A lot of people put money in close-ended funds, locking your money for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right?
Mm.
And personally, I've never seen the lure of that. For me, that optionality of liquidity will always trump that extra 0.5%, 1%, even 2% that you could probably make in some of these funds. There's nothing wrong in these funds. But
Right.
for me, that optionality is more important. Right? Tomorrow something goes wrong, funding winter comes, markets go down. I need access to my money. Most of my money and most of my life, I want optionality.
Mm.
And that is the premium that you're paying for somewhere or the other.
And what kind of a conversation, or rather, I would say, who initiated this conversation between you and your wife?
In December 2020, you're sitting at home. Obviously, things are not moving around
Mm.
physically. You said, why don't we take a 1 month road trip,
Mm.
right? See. And Coimbatore turned out to be sort of in the center of Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu,
Mhm.
right? So we said, okay, let's do this. So rented a car, did a 1 month road trip, traveled all over or a good number of places in South India, and we came back and said, boss, why can't we stay here?
Mm.
Right? As
Cool.
simple as that. So the only two, three concerns were one, the kids' education. We wanted a particular type of school for the kid,
Sure.
which is that Waldorf education, which is there across the world now, fairly across the world now.
Mhm.
One of the largest schools in Coimbatore was a Waldorf school on a farm. So he said that's taken care of. Connectivity back to Bombay, and parents are here, families here. So okay, look, it's an hour and a half away from Bombay. Okay, works. So all those things were check marked in a place like Coimbatore. And we said, as I said, Abhi, at 40, if you can't do adventure, then not later for sure. But very, very extremely lucky, I would say, to be able to take that call.
Mhm.
We've talked on it multiple times,
Yeah.
talked to friends multiple times, and I can see why it's an impossible choice for a lot of people,
Mm. True.
right? So I consider myself in a lot of things extremely lucky to be able to have these optionalities.
True, true.
This is the end of part 1 of the episode. We will continue next week with part 2. Thank you for listening in and stay tuned.